How do you get my money to give it to a private developer who will sell the same houses using my money, and I'm not benefiting? How does it even work? It's even unconstitutional.
Yes. Because we know this, we know people will continue stealing.
Yes.
What do you think should be put in place?
It's difficult. I don't want to pretend there's anything we can do now. Let them just be magnanimous, the thieves. Let them just steal less. And I'm left there. And I'm speaking from
The bottom
deep
of
in my heart.
There's nothing that
this country has gotten to a place you can't help it. Where 7 out of 10 people moving in the city of Nairobi don't have a job. They are just there. They have degrees, but they are just there. Wewe unafanya kazi, unapita kwa hao na raha yako, umeshika msichana wako, mnawako Nairobi. How safe can you be?
Great to see you. Hello there and welcome to Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. We are here in Ngara at 17 Losai. 17 Losai is an apartment building in Ngara. There are studio apartments here. You know, there are people out there with students, with children who are studying in Nairobi. There are a lot of campuses in Nairobi, in case you haven't noticed. Every single school is in Nairobi CBD. But then there is University of Nairobi in CBD. So many students out there looking for a place to stay. Some stay in hostels, but there are some who would prefer to live outside school. Of course, there are many young professionals like me without wives or children looking for a place to stay. You might be one of them. You can come to 17 Losai here in Ngara and you can get an apartment starting, a studio apartment starting at 3 million shillings. Of course, there is also a way you can pay within 6 months. You can start with just 10%. That is 330,000 shillings. And then you can pay 80% during construction. And then 10% you get your home. I'm with Prof. Manyora. Prof, great to see you. Karibu Ngara.
Asante.
This is where I'm staying nowadays.
Yeah, Ngara is it's walking distance.
Walking distance from town.
Yeah.
You've seen it's just 200 meters where you can get your, less than 200 where you can board your matatu.
It's about 150 meters. Yeah.
The security here is top notch. I've looked at this spacious, let me just say spacious studios.
Yes.
Here in Ngara, there's underground water tank. There is security. There is, you know, there are you know those things that you use when they're called hose something that you use to extinguish fire.
Yes.
The ones that watu wa maji wanakujanga kuzima maji.
Yes.
They are here. There are two in every single
those ducts, water ducts.
Every single apartment floor. There are two. There are fire extinguishers too. And then you can say you can talk about the security. It's top notch here. And it's just starting from 330,000 shillings. And you can buy some for your children too, if you have some who are staying here in Nairobi. But let's get into our conversation for today. The numbers are on the screen. We're talking about country in disaster. And you know, so much has to be fixed. Lecturers are on strike currently. It's, I think, 7 days in. This issue of lecturers, why do you think it's so persistent that we cannot fix it up to now? And you'd say it's just 9 billion they're negotiating for. Why can't we fix this?
It's not lecturers. It is the entire public sector. And the reason why people are always on strike, there are two major reasons. The first reason is we have never given ourselves living wages, or living salaries. We inherited colonial salaries that didn't think much of an African. So that if you had a policeman who was white and another policeman who was black, doing the same job, or especially African nurses, you know, a registered nurse and what have you. The difference between the white employee and the black employee was like here and skies. So the salaries were given to Africans just for survival. We have not departed from that. In other words, our salaries are basically so low that there will always be an issue. So what we needed to do, and that's why I dismiss SRC as a collection of busybodies. I thought they would start there. Let us first of all look at the cost of living in this country. Look at all factors and say, if you employed somebody living in Nairobi, for example, the lowest person, what is the minimum he needs to survive as a human being? Let's assume it's just a man or a woman with a family of 2 children and a wife or a husband. What is the minimum they need? So that's the lowest you can pay somebody. Then you begin going, as you go up, you are now getting the professors and the rest, and you ask, how much investment Do you need to produce a professor or a doctor or an engineer or whatever? So then we have the basic living wages or salaries. So that in the coming years, every year, we now only adjust salaries basing ourselves on the inflation and the price index. Only that. So that there are no big deals about moving your salary every year. It's annual increment, or even if you negotiate with your employer after every 2, 3, 4 years, it's just to factor in the inflation. But the beginning point must be reasonable salaries across the public sector. And why do you need good salaries for the public sector? It sets the trend for the private sector to follow suit and pay reasonable salaries. Number two, when you pay people reasonable salaries, the economy will grow because you have a number of people who have disposable income. So long as the taxman doesn't misbehave the way the government is making the taxman misbehave. So you leave people with enough money in the pocket to use, to spend, to grow the economy. But all these malls people are putting up, you see people there. Because there are no people with money. So, but
you're saying it sounds very simplistic.
It is.
You go to capitation in schools,
it is simple.
In high schools. It's also the same conversation.
Now coming to the next season, which may cover that. The next reason why we have this frequent strike is that once employers, the employees have sat with the employer, who is government or government agencies, they agree on something. There's a process of creating an agreement called CBA, collective bargaining agreement. They agree. Okay? The three parties agree, or whatever parties, they agree. There's a process up to the registration of that CBA. So what do you expect? So you expect government to pay. Government doesn't pay. They begin again. Look, sometimes they pretend they don't even know. They want to talk again over something that was agreed on, negotiated, and registered even with the courts, government courts. So the strikes will always be there so long as government does not want to respect agreements it has entered in with its employees.
I was going to capitation in schools again. There's delay. Government still says there's no money. Of course, there's also a conversation about schools need to be registered again. What would you attribute this conversation about government persistently claiming that money is not available? Is it an issue of collection of revenue, or is it wasted, or is it corruption, or a combination of all these things that Ruto 3 years in has been unable to deal with?
It's not Ruto.
He's the president.
All the presidents. Because you say capitation, I don't know how much money is required. Let's just, for argument's sake, last time I saw it was about 19 billion, 20 billion. And yet, by government's own admission, not even the World Bank, government's own admission. The latest was Mudavadi who said, Uhuru Kenyatta said he was in charge of finance, and we all agree that we lose about 2 billion to theft, corruption, every single day. So you can't get 20 billion to give schools, which is money that is stolen in 10 days. Why can't even just suspend the stealing for 10 days and then you give the money to schools?
20 billion.
If we must steal, let us steal all the other days. Let's just suspend that stealing for...
Now you're speaking like bad.
Let's suspend the stealing for 10 days and take capitation to school. We suspend the stealing for only 5 days and pay the lecturers. I mean, it is this country is difficult. Sometimes I sit somewhere and ask myself, where are we going really?
What mechanisms need to be put in place for us even to suspend for 20 days? What mechanism should be put in place so that we can collect this revenue before we even go to the other side of public?
There is no mechanism. Just people the thieves to be sympathetic. Let the thieves just sympathize with Kenyan children. Let them just stop stealing for a few days or steal less. I remember when I was in school, there was a time we were raising money for farming. So we were told we shall be eating less. Instead of having 4 slices of bread, we could have 2 in the morning. Instead of, we reduced the food we were eating to raise money for famine, for hunger victims. Why can't our thieves just decide for once, for love of country, for love of children who are not going to school? You know, I'm a university lecturer, and I'm telling you today, I've seen things I've never seen all my time. I've been at the university for a long time. I have nothing to show for it, but I've been there. I've never seen students dropping out of university, but now they are dropping out. It's very common. Why can't our thieves just sympathize with the children of this country? Yeah. And steal just less kidogo. If you are going to steal $1 billion, why don't you steal even 800 million?
You know, we say
Spare
we
20%.
say human beings are inherently evil.
Yes.
Because we know this. We know people will continue stealing.
Yes.
What do you think should be put in place?
It's difficult. I don't want to pretend there's anything we can do now. Let them just be magnanimous, the thieves. Let them just steal less. And that's I'm left there. And I'm speaking from
The bottom
deep
of
in my heart.
There's nothing that
This country has gone into a place you can't help it.
Jimmy,
And it's not this country. It's in institutions of this country, including private institutions. You just look at what is going on and you say, you give up. Unainua mikono yako juu.
Jimmy Wanjigi alishikilia a 1,000 shilling note during the delegates conference. It says, if this is what you need, if I have the solution for this, and it comes from public debt,
Yes.
how would you deal with this story that they're having? Because they're saying they will not pay odious debt. First of all, how practical is this for us to raise revenue to pay our lecturers, to bring capitation in schools? How easy is it to say we will not just pay Uhuru's debt, Ruto's debt, because he did not do it?
People like Jimmy are just joking. Even if you gave them this leadership, they will pay. And they will take more. The shackles are real. Being part of the international system is something you can't run away from very easily. That's why you must make a major departure, like those countries in West Africa. It must be a serious departure.
And by departure, you mean you say you're not going to pay as they're saying they will not? Or how do you pay?
I would rather we pay and not borrowed. If I become president tomorrow, I'll pay off those debts within 5 years. All of them. Stop theft. When you stop theft, you have some money you can use to fast track the payment of your debts. You spare some for development. Let's say we lose about 1 trillion shillings to corruption and theft and wastage. So if you can save that 1 trillion every year, you get like 70% to debt repayment and 30% for development, or 40, 60. But I'll also raise revenues using other means. Not selling our assets at throwaway prices for the same crooks to come and buy. No. Through looking at, can this country generate revenue? Can we generate revenue?
But on that point,
other than collection of taxes.
the president was saying most of these parastatals are just wasting government money.
No, they are not wasting government. Those who set up this parastatal, they saw the parastatals had potential. What we do, we put our cronies there, not people who can do any management. And secondly, we don't put them there to work. We put them there to facilitate theft. So that if somebody gave you a parastatal to run and you try to run it well, to prevent the thieves from stealing, you'll be sacked the following day. So the parastatals can work. State corporations that can make profits can make huge profits. Because they are doing things which normal businessmen may not do. You see?
So far, what structures have you seen from the current regime 3 years in that have proven to you that our economy can become better?
Sadly, I've not seen anything.
Point blank, simple.
I'm telling you, me, I've given up on this country and our institutions. And I'm speaking from experience and from deep down my bottom of my heart. You have to, if you don't give up on this country, you can go mad.
For President Ruto, though, he says it's affordable housing that is going to solve the unemployment problem, that will give people disposable income. From where you sit, saying in the next 2 years, we're going to see over 1 million jobs created.
How? Unless if housing was well thought out, it can create some jobs. It can pump money into the economy. But the way this one is structured, it cannot do that.
How? How would you want to see it to be structured so that we can be assured
First of all,
that
we must
employment
distinguish
will be created?
between private enterprise and public enterprise. Is this public enterprise or private enterprise? We are mixing. We cannot get government land and collect money from taxes and give to private people to do business with it. How? They should go and look for money to come and construct house. The work of government is to create an environment for people who want to develop houses to develop. We can make land available to them for free, on the understanding that they develop that land We give them a lease. They do what they intended to do, not for speculation. We can provide tax incentives on material being used and other things, but it's a private business. We are helping you so that the houses become affordable. But they are your houses. This is your business. We say if you had to buy land, that apartment could have cost 10 million. Now that we have given you free land, it should come down maybe to 6.
So from what you're saying, government will not help anyone.
No.
People should help themselves.
Business people should do. But if government wants to do housing, you cannot reinvent the wheel. National Housing Corporation started this thing many, many years before you were born. They got somewhere, and like with everything else, IMF and the World Bank came up and told them, no. Get out of the business of giving people houses. They had begun building houses. You can see the Otiende estates, the Onyonka estates, some of those estates, Ayani estates around Kibera. They are there. They were built by National Housing Corporation. They moved all the way to provinces. You go to every province, you'll find those houses. They moved to districts. They had even gone as low as the divisional headquarters. They were putting up houses. Today, if you gave them, if government in every budget cycle, it's like provided, say, 50 to 100 billion to National Housing Corporation, they will continue the process of developing houses. Those will now be government houses to be distributed to Kenyans, knowing they are government houses. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying.
I'm getting you.
The work of government, in short, is to get land to developers.
But government is persistent with taxes for affordable housing.
How do you take my money to give how do you get my money to give it to a private developer who will sell the same houses using my money, and I'm not benefiting? How does it even work? It's even unconstitutional.
So we go back.
I don't know why Umtata has not gone to court. It's unconstitutional.
So we go back to finally, you haven't seen any solution to our money problem in the country.
There are no solutions. Sadly, it is sad because, and I'm speaking this as a Kenyan who loves this country, it is sad because we are courting disaster. These situations we have created for ourselves, they have never worked anywhere in the world. They will not work here. They are not sustainable. When you see young boys and girls doing the sort of things they are doing across the world, the latest being in Nepal, they are just about to dock in your harbor, if they haven't docked already. Because the situation is not sustainable. It's not a question of Ruto or one term or Ruto must go or Kalonzo or Uhuru. No, it is just the reality on the ground that the situation is not tenable. It's not sustainable. You cannot have a situation that creates millions of jobless young men and women, most of them with college education, as Americans will say. It's not sustainable. And I've said this repeatedly. In the coming years, we are already there, in fact. In the next 5 or so years, 5 to 10 years, out of 10 people in the streets of Nairobi, 7, 8 will not have a job. How can you even be safe in the streets of Nairobi? How? Is it possible you can be safe?
You can't.
Where 7 out of 10 people moving in the city of Nairobi don't have a job. They are just there. They have degrees, but they are just there. Wewe unafanya kazi, unapita kwa hao na raha yako, umeshika msichana wako, mnawalk Nairobi. How safe can you be?
Then if you say it's not a matter of 1 term, 2 term, Uhuru or Ruto, then what is it a matter of? Is it a question of Kenyans in general just thinking about how we can make this country better? Or what do you mean when you say it's not about leadership?
No, everything is about leadership. We need to find a way of creating proper leadership. Not just changing these politicians. Oh, Kibaki man, oh, Moi must go, Moi must go, Moi goes, Kibaki comes. Oh, Kibaki this, Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto.
Yeah.
Ruto sijui ni Rigiji ama ni nani. They will be the same. We must sit down, and I've said this repeatedly, and ask ourselves, why are we a poor, dirty, third world country? Yet we have the potential few countries have. The potential this country has, few countries within the third world range have.
Where are we still?
Some of them even God-given. A good climate, good resources, some of which we are never even touched.
Yeah.
Why are we so poor? Aikwe Amhad asked, why are we so blessed? We are so blessed, and yet we are so poor, living in a poor, dirty, third world country.
Thanks for tuning into that conversation with Herman Manyora. We're at 17 Losai. Invest wisely today. Prophet said that we just think about ourselves now. We cannot expect anything from government. These apartments are going starting from 3 million Kenya shillings. You can pay 10%, 80% on the rest of the 10% during the handover period. I was looking at the finishes as we were conversing here. The finishes are top notch.
Yeah,
there are people who would think this
people sometimes go for size alone. A room, a studio may not be that big, but you look at the finishing. But there's something that caught my attention about students. If you are having somebody coming to school at University of Nairobi, and you know they will be here like for 4 or 5 years, undergraduate, and so on and so forth, up to masters. If you bought this, and the total cost of buying this plus taking the child through school, maybe 4 or 5 million, and you have it, it'll be a better thing, so that after the student completes, you will have saved yourself the money you would have paid for the student staying out. And at that point, you can choose to sell it again.
And you know there are people who are...
and these things appreciate. You'll get all the money you invested plus a profit. So it's like your daughter who was staying here who was staying for free.
And in case you didn't know, Ngara is undergoing a facelift.
Yeah.
And so if you're thinking of Ngara as it was or as is today, the next 5 years, Ngara is going to be bigger, better.
You see those affordable houses, I'm shocked at how beautiful they look.
And we are just criticizing the affordable housing.
The idea that is wrong. But it doesn't mean they can't have good structure. Those ones across there, they look very nice.
Yeah, so
with the facelift here,
Ngara is going to become much more expensive to live in. And so if you invest now, if you have some money and you put this as part of your investment portfolio, of course, you're going to have your money back, and you're going to have your money back better. The invest today, the number is 0708-798-098. That's 0708-798-098. Call that number today for if you have any inquiries about this studio, spacious studio with great finishes apartments here in Ngara. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day.